March was a way better reading month for me than last month. Last month I only read 3 books, but this month I read 10. So we have a lot to get into to go over all the books that I read during the month of March, and I finally got to rate a 5-star this year. It's my first 5-star read of the year, in my opinion. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Kate and welcome to my bookish corner of the internet. Let's get into today's video. Like I mentioned, we're going to be talking all the books I read this month. Here's kind of a synopsis of all the books, using the app Bookmori to track them. But the first one on here is Echo Man by Sam Holland. I read this as an audiobook, I believe from Libby. Yes, it was from Libby through my library. I rated this book 4 stars, so I did like it. It was very graphic, I believe, so check your trigger warnings. And I'm surprised, I always rate books instantly after I read them. Like whatever my first thought is, that's when I rate them, and I don't go back and change them. But I am surprised I rated this 4 stars because I guessed the end. Like I kind of know who was the bad guy, and I knew it right from his first line. I was like, oh, that's the bad guy. And usually because of that, I won't rate a book so high, but I guess other factors led me to rate it 4 stars, but I did like it. It kept my interest the whole time, and sometimes I do like a dark thriller. And this definitely meets that criteria. So I definitely recommend checking it out. I did guess the twist, I guess. I don't know. I don't want to go into spoilers, but basically there's Jessica, who is, I think that's her name. Okay, I can't remember names in books. Okay, so the one character, her husband dies in a fire where she saves her daughter, but then police suspect she was the one that starts the fire, so she has to go on the run. And then the other storyline is like the detectives that are trying to solve the case. There's 3 detectives that are kind of, well, like one's brother and sister, and yeah, I won't get into too much more, but it's interesting. It's one of those detective crime novels, and yeah, it was very interesting, very dark, but I did like it. The next book I read was Beartown by Fredrik Backman. I rated this 4 stars as well. I read it as a physical book from my library. If you haven't seen my videos before, you'll know that I don't buy too many books for myself. I get a lot of them from the library, which is why I like to promote authors on this channel, because I do feel bad that I don't buy their books, but that's not in my budget, and I want to support my local library. So yes, anyway, next was Beartown by Fredrik Backman. I rated it 4 stars. I just kind of could relate to it because I'm from a small town, and this book's about a small hockey town, and I'm from Canada, so, and my job is very related to hockey. It's not in the, I don't know anything about hockey, but my job, I don't want to get too much into it, but it focuses a lot on hockey. Hard to explain, whatever. Besides the point, my life revolves a lot around hockey, so I know how it is when these small towns are really pressuring these players to be their best, and you know, the families that all they care about is hockey. And that's kind of what this book is about. It's about a town that really supports their local hockey team. They want to win the championship, and then there's a group of teenage boys. They get into some trouble. A girl gets hurt. You probably can see where this is going. And obviously these boys did not have the best parental figures. So I did enjoy reading the book. It was hard to read, so again, check your trigger warnings. But I do think that this topic is a very important topic, so I fully support the author writing about this topic. And I actually just got the second one from the library that I haven't started yet, but that's next. But yes, I rated it 4 stars, and I suggest you check it out. Next book I read was The Armor and the Light by Ken Follett, which is I believe the 4th Kingsbridge novel. I loved the other Kingsbridge novels, like the 1st, 2nd, and even the 3rd. This is the first one that I didn't like as much. Oh, I read it as an audio book from Audible. I don't have Audible, but my sister gifted me some of her credits, so I was able to use it that way. And yeah, so I rated it 3 stars or no, 3.5 stars. So I don't know. It's just because I couldn't connect with the characters as much as I usually do. And usually it's pretty graphic. Like, you definitely need to check your trigger warnings because it's from like the Middle Ages. I usually read thrillers, and these are not thrillers. These are very much historical fiction, but not just from recent historical, like World War II or whatever. I'm talking like Middle Ages times. So I always find it really weird that I like these books, but this was the new one that came out, and while I did enjoy it, and I think if you read the other 3, you probably will want to read this one. I just didn't like it as much, but I know other people that did. So that's just my opinion, but it's definitely a long book, so it's a commitment if you want to get into Kingsbridge novels. I don't know how many pages because I always read them as audiobooks, but it's definitely worth your time, but will take a lot of time. Next book I finished was The Butcher by Jennifer Hillier. I love Jennifer Hillier's novels. I think Little Secrets is my favorite so far, but this one might have surpassed that. I read it as an audio book, also from Audible, that my sister gifted me, and I rated it 4.5 stars. I was almost going to give it 5. I find that Jennifer Hillier, she writes it so you know who the bad guy is, and that's the only thing that I just can't get into as much. I wish it was this kind of a shock where she's done a couple of novels like that where you know who it is, and then it's not really a shock in that regard. But either way, the writing is very good, and I definitely enjoyed it because I gave it 4.5 stars. So my next book was my first 5-star read of the year. I have seen people agree with this, and I've seen people disagree with this, but this is just my opinion. I loved it. It's Kill for Me, Kill for You by Steve Cavanagh. I read it as a physical book from my library, and let me tell you, I was just hooked from the beginning. It's basically about, like the title says, like, I will kill for you, you kill for me, but everything goes wrong. It's not what you expect. I was hooked from the very first scene. This was my first Steve Cavanagh book, and you'll see that I have another one on this list because I went right away to go get another one because I loved his writing so much, and I love that book so much. It had the plot from the beginning. I connected with the characters. I felt bad for the characters. It had the end of book twist that I left my jaw on the floor, and it had everything I could want in a thriller. So that's why I got the 5 stars. Next book I read was The Measure by Nikki Erlick. This actually, I have a little bit of a book club with some people that I have online, and this was our book of the month for this month. I read it as an ebook from Hoopla, which I got through my library as well. And this was a pretty good book. The premise is that everybody in the world one night wakes up and they all get delivered a package with a string inside, and depending on how long the string is how long you're going to live. So I rated it 4 stars. I know a lot of people liked it a lot. I don't know if it was me. Sometimes a book, it's not you, it's me. I just couldn't give it the full 5 stars, but I don't know if another book got me thinking as much as this book. Like, would you want to know how long your life is? Would you want to know when you were going to die? And like, if you knew when your partner was going to die, like, would that change anything? And it just got me thinking in my own life. A lot of people in the book chose not to look, and some people chose to look, and it was just kind of, it really got you thinking. And a lot of stuff happened in the book, so I'm not going to get into it, no spoilers, but definitely check it out. And if you have a book club, that I would highly suggest it for a book club, because we haven't had our discussion yet, and I can't wait for it because I have so much to talk about this book, and I can't wait to hear other people's opinions about this book. So if you have any opinions on this book, please drop it in the comments, because it was just so eye-opening to me. And yeah, it was such an interesting concept, and I thought the author did it really well. So definitely worth a read. The next book I finished was The Outsider by Stephen King. I read this as an audio book from Libby. I rated it 4 stars, and that's mainly because it's a Holly Gibney book, and I love that character that Stephen King writes. I made another video about this, but if you want to read a Stephen King novel, I suggest these ones, but you have to start with the Mr. Mercedes novel and go from there. But Holly Gibney is, I haven't read many Stephen King movies, or Stephen King books, but she's such an interesting character. She's just kind of that awkward person that you can't help but liking, but you know, she internalizes so much, and she doesn't want to come across as awkward, but she is, and I just love her, and I love reading about her. So when I found out, I actually threw another YouTuber, that I didn't even know that more existed. I thought it was just the Mr. Mercedes novels, and I thought it was over, but we get more Holly Gibney, and that makes me so excited. So I picked up The Outsider, and there's more after that. I can't remember which one's next, but it's on my TBR. This story was interesting too. It was very supernaturally, which I've gotten used to with Stephen King novels. I had to tell myself these are supernatural novels. They are not necessarily just thrillers. They are supernatural. Once I got my head around that, I learned to like it a bit more. The next book I read was If Something Happens to Me by Finlay. This is probably the worst book I read this month, and it was still good. I rated it 3 stars. I felt like it had a good premise, but there was just too many characters, so it was hard to follow along. Like, I think if they kind of cut some of the characters and like you were able to get to know the main characters instead of having so many side characters, I think I would have liked it better. I can't explain it, but basically it's a girl goes missing and her boyfriend's accused, but then he gets off, and yeah, I don't want to get too much into the spoilers, but yeah, it didn't get it for me. It had a good premise. It was like she leaves away so if something happens to her, you'll know what happened. But then, yeah, I just think it could have been done better. And I know a lot of people really like that book, but it was just okay for me. And that's just my opinion. Next book I read was another Steve Cavanagh book. It was The Defense by, Steve Cavanagh. I read it as a physical book from the library. It's actually still right here. And I finished it so quickly after the last one, but I had to get another Steve Cavanagh book. This is the first Eddie Flynn novel. So he is a lawyer, but he used to be a con man. So it's just kind of, a lot of people say lawyers are con men. So he kind of uses his skills from that. And then his daughter gets kidnapped by the Russian mob, and they force him to be his lawyer. So yeah, it's one of the, Steve Cavanagh, he hooks you right from the beginning, and you need to know what happens. And I'm definitely going to be reading the next one. And I just love the way he writes. I rated this one 4 stars. It wasn't the full 5, but still very good. And the last book I read this month was Love Mom by Iliana Xander. I also rated this one 4 stars. This one was so hyped up online. I was expecting another 5-star read. And I think sometimes when books get hyped up like that, it just, something about it, they're just too overrated. I just expect something huge, and then it falls flat for me. It wasn't like it falls flat. It was a good book. Basically this girl, her mom's an author, and she dies, and she didn't really get along with her mom, but then she starts receiving letters, and they're like from her mom. And so it kind of opens a whole can of worms. There is a pretty big twist in here, and I didn't see it coming. But then when it happened, it just wasn't like a shocking twist. It was more like a what? And I still liked it, and it was still really good. That's why I rated it 4 stars. I don't know. Everybody online was just raving about this book, and it was very good. But honestly, I gotta stop looking at other people's reviews, because sometimes people will hype something up so much that I don't know what my mind is expecting. It always doesn't like meet its expectations, or I don't know what it is. So I still rated it 4 stars. It was a very good book. I think a lot of people would like it. A lot of people would like the twist. So you definitely should read it. I read it as an ebook on Kindle Unlimited. It's on Kindle Unlimited. I recently subscribed to Kindle Unlimited because, like I said, I don't really buy a lot of books, but I was reading fast enough that I'm like, okay, I need to be able to read more. So finally subscribed to that, and it's been worth it so far. So check it out. It's on Kindle Unlimited. And yeah. So that was all the books I read during the month of March. Let me know in the comments if you read any of them and what you thought about them, if you agree with me, even if you don't. I love discussing books. So let's talk about it in the comments. If you have your own book channel, please tag me because I'm trying to make some friends on here because I don't know where to look. I've followed a few people, so I would definitely recommend, I definitely would love some more booktubers to follow. So tag yourselves in the comments as well, and I'll give you a follow. If you liked today's video, please hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.